in the library, if you've ever gone and watched it for hours. And if you have, I don't know how you managed it because it's really boring to watch after about 2 minutes. I mean, you can, I don't know if you know, but the way that ball is made, it's got a little tip at the bottom. That's meant to knock over bowling pins. At the Ben Franklin Institute, where I grew up, in the institute, you know, my mom brought me in and stuck me in one of the locomotives and ran away. No, that's false. I'm just kidding. But I got to visit the Ben Franklin Institute, and they have a Foucault pendulum there. And every morning, somebody has to go out there and reset all the little bowling pins on all the little spots that made for them, right, all around. And then the whole day, the thing, as it's moving, keeps knocking over the bowling pins as the room is turning around the pendulum, right? Because what the pendulum is supposed to do is prove that the Earth is rotating, right? You know, so the pendulum is free of the gravitational pull and just keeps swinging in the same arc, and the Earth is moving around it. And you can see it because as it's going through the day, it kind of knocks all the bowling pins down, and they have to reset them in the morning. Well, we don't have the bowling pins. I guess no one ordered them or whatever. In fact, I don't recall that there's even the spot. They didn't even put the tiles in to spot where they are because it's hard to make sure that they're in exactly the right places. But theoretically, you could sit there and watch it, you know, cover all 360 points. They don't really have 360, but I don't know how many they have. In any case, the Boo-Hooray theory is an informal term for emotivism, meta-ethical. So you've got ethics. And what is a meta-ethical theory? Well, you've got an ethical theory that says you should never lie. It's deontology, the belief that you have certain duties. That's, you know, what structures your ethics. Then you have do no harm. You know, another, you know, whatever. Should you be a deontologist? Should you believe that what really makes an ethical person is that they do their duty and that they know their duty, etc. But when you analyze ethical theory and you compare different ethical theories, you're doing meta-ethics. Right? So you're no longer just on the same level as an ethical theory. Now you're examining what makes ethical theories what they are. So a meta-ethical theory that suggests that ethical statements express feelings and attitudes instead of having a truth value. So that expresses really, I think, except for Sam Harris. Did I play Sam Harris's TED Talk? You know, because he feels like, you know, it's, you know, you can have a scientific basis for happiness, and that happiness is, you know, the goal of every activity, essentially. Well, you know, that's he's trying to treat an emotive position as a scientific fact-based theory, and he fails, actually, because if you look at his argument from a meta-ethical standpoint, he's taking a particular ethical point of view and saying that's the correct point of view, as opposed to all the other ethical point of views that are actually quite different. I mean, there's definitely ethical theories that think happiness is exactly not the thing that's supposed to motivate people if they're going to do their duty. However, so Boo-Hooray theory, that's Karl Popper, by the way. Ever heard of Karl Popper? Some folks. Well, he is dead, I'm sure. 94 he died. Karl Popper. Big name with regard to philosophy of science. Of course, the interesting, if you think of this as positivism, only statements that can be tested have meaning. And that means it's a fact-based statement. You could look at, this water is cold. What do you mean by that? It's 48 degrees. I don't know what it is. And by cold, I mean anything below 50. Okay, so, yep, that's cold. You're right. That's a fact. The trouble with that positivist point of view is that you can't test that positivist point of view. So you can't test to see that only statements that can be tested have meaning. In fact, that statement doesn't have meaning, according to the theory. So that's kind of hilarious, actually. Sorry about that. So, that's fun. But even if you are going to use emotive statements and say that they are fact-based, you have to define exactly what you mean by that so that it's measurable. Because, well, computers aren't going to be able to check it otherwise. They have to have an exact description of exactly whether or not all the binary code matches for them to flip the switch over here. Now there is a problem with this test, though. If you're selecting two even-numbered analogies from an exercise in a book that you don't have, that obviously is not a question you should pick. Question 5 is fun. The Alaska state budget. Let's see if that website is still working. Used to be that you could go click on that and it would take you to, yeah, that still works. How about that? So the neat thing about that is you could go and look at what's going on with the budgeting process in the state of Alaska. But notice at the time that I wrote that initially years ago, the budget, the money in Alaska was coming from oil. And now it has officially switched. So now the savings account that the state has making money is the main source of income for the state of Alaska. You get more money from that each year than you get from the oil income. Is that still true? But either way, this is a fun thing, considering how much money the state of Alaska has and all the things that we would like the state to spend that money on, including giving money to us personally in the PFD check. How do you think it should be handled? Notice there's no right or wrong answer there. It's everybody for themselves trying to figure out which is the most important thing. Helping the poor people, helping housing, for people, or giving me more money, whatever. And the bonus question, this proposition is not true. Is it true or not? And I don't think this still works, but I have Oh, it does. How about that? That's good. That's Charles Sanders Peirce, and this is one of his articles. It's still on the web. Wow. You could go through this whole argument. This proposition is not true. Is it true or not? And just long story short, he argues it's false. And that's why it puzzles everybody, because it's false. Make it bigger. This is also what the Greeks used to call an antinomony. It's an unsolvable. What happened here? Did I get totally lost? I think my link embedded it right at a particular point in the article. Yep. Oh well. There it is. So I took you to a particular article, but I also took you to a particular point in the article. So you can read up and read more stuff. By the way, Charles Sanders Peirce would be certainly someone to be familiar with. Of the three major American philosophers, not talking like Jonathan Edwards or Benjamin Franklin or even Thomas Jefferson, but actual philosophers who studied philosophy and then had an impact on American philosophy. Charles Sanders Peirce is the one who invented pragmatism, which is considered to be the philosophy of the United States. One of his colleagues, William James, began using pragmatism as well and gave lectures all over the country. That was back in the day before movies, it was before radio. And so what people did for entertainment on Friday night was go to the theater and listen to some guy speak at them for a couple hours. Talk about a different kind of world, right? And William James went all over giving lectures and was very popular. And he used pragmatism to talk about the American philosophy. And so at a certain point, Charles Sanders Peirce changed the name of the philosophy he espoused to pragmaticism, because his focus was primarily on the meaning of words in our language. So he was focused on how meaning works. And William James was really much more interested in a general sense of a philosophy called pragmatism. But Peirce was very important in logic. And by the way, when we talk about different kinds of reasoning, we have deductive reasoning, which we studied with Aristotle, his syllogistic logic, his deductive systems. Mathematics is a deductive system. It's based on the axioms, based on the definitions. If I have a statement in mathematics, I can figure out whether it's true or false. And it's essentially based on like an argument, a premise, conclusion kind of thing. If one is a number, et cetera, then therefore 1 + 1 = 2, right? And you can actually just follow that out. So it's a deductive system. But then we have inductive reasoning, which I think I mentioned John Stuart Mill. He's one of the ones that, in a intro to logic textbook, John Stuart Mill is highlighted as one of the individuals that's significant. And that's because of Mill's methods. If you you were to look at John Stuart Mill, you can follow him if you like. But let me go to John Stuart Mill. Did we talk about him?
Sounds familiar.
He's considered famous in logic, especially because he gave us rules on how